In the following game, I was playing black against a prodigy from Norway, top-rated player in the world, Magnus Carlsen. Even though Magnus is very young, I already played him a few years ago and lost the game against him. So in this encounter, since it was a blitz game, I was ready to try to take revenge. Since I was playing black, I opted for a very solid opening, the Petrov defense. After a long theoretical line, which I use sometimes when playing white, Magnus used a novelty and played bishop f4. I didn't reply correctly and made some inaccuracies, which led white to take quite a big advantage. And probably that led Carlsen think that he will win this game quickly. But since even though my position was passive, it was still solid. And after a few more moves, where I was regrouping my pieces, I succeeded in moving my pieces forward and even putting my bishop, the light squared bishop, to the e4 square. Meanwhile, Carlsen was pushing the pawns on the king side forward in order to create an attack, which created some weaknesses on the king side. I was able to attack Magnus' weaknesses, and after a few more moves, I was even able to push my pieces into his camp. And he made a blunder. He moved his rook from e3 to e2, without noticing that in that case I will be able to take the queen on f2, and after rook takes f2 will win the rook by playing rook takes f2. While playing this move rook 3 to e2, he suddenly realized this variation and tried to change his mind and tried to play rook 1 to e2. But since we have this touched move rule in the game of chess, I asked Magnus to play with the rook that he touched. I should say that after rook 1 to e2, his position is still worse, since I have an interesting move rook b1, which I was probably going to play, since after rook b1, rook e1, he will lose the rook anyway. So it was a very interesting game for me, because even though I didn't play really well after the opening, I was able to hold the position, to stay calm, and at the end to complicate it and to counterattack and even to win the game against the top player in the world. I'm playing black against Magnus Carlsen. The game started with e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, the Petrov defense, d4, knight takes e4, bishop d3, d5, d takes e5, knight c5, bishop e2. I have a big experience playing this variation as white, and now I'm playing it as black. So bishop e7, castling, castling, bishop e3, knight c6. You see that Magnus plays almost immediately. Knight c3. It's quite popular line lately. Bishop e6, and many games have been played with it within 1 year. Bishop b5. Even though it's a 3-minute game, we get 2 seconds for each move. Knight d7, bishop f4, which is a novelty in the games that I knew. White played knight takes d5, but bishop f4 is stronger because white doesn't let black to take on e5 immediately and just holds the pressure. And you see that I'm spending quite a few time, while Magnus doesn't pay any attention at all to our game. He seems to be more interested in the games that is played next to us. And also he has almost 1 minute advantage right now. a6, bishop takes e6, b takes c6, knight d4. Probably a6 was not the strongest move, since now in order to defend the pawn on c6 I need to play knight b8, which not is the best place for the knight. Queen b4 with the idea to play queen c3. Of course, Carlsen didn't let me make this move. He has two possibilities to play bishop d2 or to play rook e3. What he did, queen c5, again threatening to take the pawn on c2. And now we have both 10 seconds, rook c1, rook a to b8, h4, rook b4, f6, I played g6. I could have taken on f6 instead, but it's difficult to understand what's going on with 5 seconds on the clock. c4, rook e to b8, bishop takes h6, rook takes b3. And now I'm even better, rook c2, e1, rook b2, and you see that Magnus took the e3 rook first and tried to protect the queen on f2 by playing rook 3 to e2, but while moving the rook e3 to e2, he noticed that in that case I will just take the queen on f2, and after rook takes f2 I will win the rook by playing rook takes f2. That's why he tried to change his mind by playing rook 1 to e2, which obviously is not allowed by the rules of chess, and I told him that, and by leaving the board he showed me that he resigned. If Magnus plays here rook 1 to e2, I probably would play a rook to b1, threatening to give check on h1, also setting up a trap, because now rook e1 is not possible, because I will move my second rook to b2, rook a to b2, and now both rooks are pinned. The e3 rook is pinned since the queen is behind it, and the rook on e1 is pinned because the h1 square is behind it, and it's very dangerous to let my rook to h1. So my position was still better, and this mistake, rook 3 to e2, was because of the fact that Magnus' position is worse. In this game, even though Magnus got a better position after the opening and he had an advantage, I played really well. I forced him to weaken his king side, and little by little I freed my pieces and created some threats which he wasn't able to solve with seconds left on the clock.